What's happening, dogs? Mr. Allen here. We're about to evaluate some dope trig functions using our unit circle. Now, personally, I like to memorize the first quadrant of my unit circle, and then I use what I know about whether these trig functions are positive versus negative in particular quadrants to finish up evaluating. Here's how it works. So for cosine of pi over 4, that's in my first quadrant. This one's going to be very straightforward. It is my 45-degree reference here in pink. My cosine is my x-coordinate. This is just going to be root 2 over 2. First quadrant, super easy. There we go. Next one, I've got sine of 5 pi over 6. My pi over 6 reference is this first one right here. And my sine is my y-coordinate. So it's going to be 1/2. But is it positive or is it negative? Well, 5 pi over 6 is in my second quadrant. Sine is positive in my second quadrant, so it's positive 1/2. That's it. That's dope for that one. All right, next one, tangent. Tangent's always a little crazy. All right, this is 4 pi over 3, which is my third reference right here in orange. All right, so first off, let's just go ahead and evaluate this one. Then we'll decide if it's positive or negative. So tangent is y divided by x, meaning we would have root 3 over 2 divided by 1/2, or we could say multiplied by 2 over 1. So here I'm going to get my 2's to cancel, and I'm left with the square root of 3. Now, is it positive or is it negative? Well, 4 pi over 3 is in my third quadrant, which is right down here, and it says that tangent is positive in that quadrant. Boom, diggity. Both my sine and my cosine are negative in that quadrant, and since it's sine over cosine, y over x, negative over negative, it becomes positive in that third quadrant. That's it for this one. We got our 3 different answers, evaluating using the unit circle's first quadrant and what we know about them being positive or negative. Woo! Oh, man. I love getting tricky with it, dogs. I love getting tricky with it, and I hope you guys do too. Woo! We're about to evaluate cosine of negative 120 degrees using our unit circle. First off, what's my reference angle? It's 60. So I'm going to be using this orange one right here. Cosine is my x-coordinate, so I know it's 1/2, but is it positive or is it negative? Well, if I come down here, what quadrant are we in for negative 120? We're going to be in our third quadrant, so only tangent is positive, which means everything else is negative. Negative 1/2 is my final answer. That's dope. Deuces, dogs. We're about to evaluate tangent of negative 5 pi over 4. So since it's over 4, it's my pi over 4 reference, which is this pink one right here. Now I know tangent is y divided by x, or sine divided by cosine. Root 2 over 2 divided by root 2 over 2 is just going to give me 1. But is my final answer going to be positive 1 or is it negative 1? That's where the angle of rotation comes into play. So negative 5 pi over 4 will land me over here in my second quadrant. Only sine is positive in my second quadrant, which makes tangent negative. So negative 1 is my final answer for tangent of negative 5 pi over 4. And that's dope. You guys have a wonderful, fantastic day. We're about to evaluate sine of 225 degrees using our unit circle. First things first, what's my reference for 225? It's a 45-degree reference, which is this pink one right here. Now, sine is my y-coordinate, so it's going to be root 2 over 2. But the question is it positive root 2 over 2 or is it negative root 2 over 2? Here comes the second step of using our first quadrant of the unit circle. I'm going to stop down here. Now 225 would land me in my third quadrant, and only tangent is positive in that quadrant, which means sine is negative. So I'm going to get negative root 2 over 2 for my final answer, and that's dope. You guys have a wonderful, fantastic day. We're about to evaluate secant of 300 degrees. So 300 degrees, my reference would be 60 degrees, which means I'm dealing with this one right here, my orange one. Now, secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Cosine is my x-coordinate here, 1/2. When we say reciprocal, we mean flip it. So it's going to be, instead of 1/2, it's going to be 2. But is it positive or is it negative? That's where this guy down here comes into play. 300 is going to land me in my fourth quadrant, and since secant is the reciprocal of cosine, it follows the same positive and negative as cosine. Cosine's positive here, so secant's positive here. That's it. That's dope. We're about to evaluate cotangent of negative pi over 3 using our unit circle. So the first step is figuring out what our reference is. Since it's pi over 3, it's going to be this orange one right here. Now, cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, which is y over x, so this is going to be x over y. So I'm going to have 1/2 divided by root 3 over 2, or we can multiply by my reciprocal of 2 over root 3. My 2's are going to cancel, and I'm left with 1 over root 3. Now, I got to rationalize this by multiplying by root 3 over root 3, which is going to give me root 3 over 3. You're going to see those same numbers come up over and over and over again in our unit circle. Next question is this positive or is this negative? Well, that's going to land me in my fourth quadrant, and only cosine is positive, which means cotangent will be negative because tangent is negative, and they follow the same positive or negative pattern. That's it. That's dope. Deuces, dogs. We're about to evaluate cosecant of 3 pi over 4. First thing, establish our reference, which is pi over 4, which is this middle one in pink right here. Now, cosecant is my reciprocal of sine. So if I look at my sine is root 2 over 2, then cosecant is going to be 2 over root 2. But I cannot leave it like that. I got to rationalize by multiplying by root 2 over root 2, which then gives me 2 root 2 over 2. Oh my goodness, that's a whole lot of 2's. It's just going to be the square root of 2. But is it positive or is it negative? That's the question. This here is going to land me in my second quadrant. Sine is positive in my second quadrant, so the reciprocal of sine will follow that as well and be positive root 2 over 2. Oh man, that was awesome.